The massive starship floated in the darkness of space like a metal mountain. Inside its cold halls, Commander Vextar studied the glowing screen in front of him. The data showed everything he needed to know about the third planet from the yellow star, the beings there called it Earth. Vextar's long fingers moved across the control panel. His purple skin gleamed under the ship's lights. His 4 eyes focused on the information about the humans. These creatures were weak and divided. They had not even left their own solar system yet. Their weapons were simple metal projectiles and chemical explosives. Most importantly, they fought each other in constant wars. The Galactic Council had given him this mission 3 months ago. Earth was in the way of their new trade route. The humans had to be removed or made to serve the Empire. Vextar had conquered 47 worlds in his long career. This would be the easiest one yet. He turned to his second-in-command. Officer Kretal was younger, but just as confident. Her blue scales shimmered as she moved. She held a data pad with more information about Earth. "Sir, the humans have no unified government," she said. "They have over 200 separate nations. Most of them hate each other. Their largest military force has only 3 million soldiers. Their space program is a joke. They use chemical rockets that barely reach their own moon." Vextar nodded. His sharp teeth showed in what might have been a smile. "How many ships does the Council think we need for this conquest?" "The war planners suggest 3 cruisers and 1 ground assault ship," Kretal replied. "They estimate complete surrender within 2 of their days. The humans will probably welcome us as gods once they see our technology." Vextar activated the ship's communication system. His voice carried to every corner of the massive vessel. "Attention all crew. We are approaching the human world. This will be a simple operation. These primitive beings cannot possibly resist. U.S. Prepare for standard pacification protocol." Meanwhile, far below on Earth, Colonel Jake Morrison sat in a deep underground room. The walls were thick concrete lined with metal. Banks of computers hummed around him. Dozens of military officers from different countries worked at the screens. This was the most secret place on Earth. Not even most world leaders knew it existed. Morrison was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been preparing for this day for 15 years. Ever since the first strange radio signals had been detected from deep space, he knew this moment would come. The signals had been weak and brief, but they proved one thing. Humans were not alone in the universe. Dr. Lisa Carter entered the command room. She was a small woman with dark hair and quick movements. She carried a thick folder of papers. Her face was worried but determined. "Jake, the satellites have confirmed it," she said. 3 large objects are approaching Earth. They're not asteroids or comets. They're artificial. They're ships." Morrison nodded slowly. He had expected this news, but hearing it still made his stomach tight. "How long do we have?" "At their current speed, about 18 hours until they reach Earth orbit," Carter replied. "The ships are huge, Jake. Each one is over 2 miles long. They're using some kind of propulsion we don't understand. No heat signature, no radiation. They're just moving through space like ghosts." Morrison turned to a communication panel. His fingers found buttons he had hoped never to use. "This is Mountain Base to all unified defense stations. Code Black. Repeat. Code Black. All units to immediate readiness. Initiate radio silence protocols." Around the world, hidden bases received the signal. In the mountains of Tibet, a secret Chinese facility came alive with activity. Under the ice of Antarctica, Russian submarines began moving toward predetermined positions. In the deserts of Australia, concealed missile silos opened their covers for the first time in decades. The Unified Defense Protocol had been humanity's greatest secret. Every major nation had contributed resources and technology. Old enemies had worked together to prepare for the possibility of alien invasion. The fractured fighting nations that any observer would see were only part of the truth. Underneath the surface politics, humanity had been preparing. Dr. Carter showed Morrison the latest analysis. We've been monitoring their communications. They're using quantum entanglement for instant messaging across space. We can't understand the language, but we've detected patterns. They're definitely coordinating an attack. Morrison studied the data. The alien ships had appeared at the edge of the solar system 3 days ago. They had made no attempt to communicate with Earth. They simply started moving toward the planet at incredible speed. Their intent was clear. What about the frequency research? Morrison asked. Carter's eyes brightened slightly. We've made progress. Remember those crashed meteorites from last year? The ones that weren't really meteorites? We've learned that certain electromagnetic frequencies can disrupt the energy patterns in those materials. If the aliens use similar technology, we might have a weapon. Morrison felt a small spark of hope. It wasn't much, but it was something. How many weapons can we modify? Working around the clock, maybe 50 units by the time they arrive, Carter said. It's not enough to win a war, but it might be enough to surprise them. In orbit above Earth, Vexstar ships moved into attack formation. The lead cruiser's sensors swept the planet below. They detected the primitive human settlements, the crude satellites, the chemical rocket facilities. Everything matched the intelligence reports perfectly. Sir, should we attempt communication first? Asked Kree Tal. Vexstar waved a dismissive hand. Why waste time? These beings have nothing worth hearing. Begin orbital bombardment of their major military installations. Once their leadership is destroyed, the rest will surrender quickly. The alien commander had conquered many worlds. He knew the pattern. Show overwhelming force early, destroy their ability to coordinate resistance, and the native population would submit. Primitives always chose survival over pride. What Vexstar didn't know was that human pride was different from anything the Galactic Council had encountered before. In hidden bunkers around the world, human military leaders watched their screens and prepared for the fight of their lives. Morrison looked around the command room. Officers from America, Russia, China, Britain, France, India, and dozens of other nations worked side by side. Old hatreds had been put aside for this moment. The survival of their species depended on unity. Gentlemen and ladies, Morrison said, quietly, in a few hours we're going to show our visitors that humanity is not as primitive as they think. Remember, we're not trying to win this battle. We're trying to make them remember us. The first shots of the war were about to be fired. Neither side knew how much the universe was about to change. The first alien ship entered Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. Its massive hull glowed red from the heat of entry, but the advanced shields protected it from any damage. Commander Vexstar stood on the bridge, watching the blue and green planet grow larger on his screen. This would be over soon. Captain Amy Rodriguez sat in the cockpit of her fighter, JET, high above the Pacific Ocean. She was part of a secret squadron that officially didn't exist. Her plane looked like a normal military fighter, but hidden inside were modifications that had taken years to develop. Her hands gripped the controls as she watched the alien ship descend toward the California coast. Phoenix leader to all units, she spoke into her radio. Target is approaching our position. Remember, we need to keep them busy while the ground teams get ready. Don't try to be heroes. Hit them hard and get out. Behind her flew 11 other pilots from different countries. Lieutenant Dan Parker from Canada flew to her left. Major Carlos Santos from Brazil was on her right. They had trained together for 2 years, preparing for this exact moment. None of them expected to survive, but they were determined to make their deaths count. The alien cruiser slowed as it reached the lower atmosphere. Vexstar's sensors showed him everything he wanted to see. The human cities below were full of panicking. People, their primitive aircraft were fleeing the area. Their military bases were sending out confused radio signals. Everything was going according to plan. "Sir, we're detecting some unusual readings," reported his tactical officer. "There are 12 small aircraft approaching our position. They appear to be military fighters." Vexstar's 4 eyes focused on the display. The human planes were tiny compared to his massive ship. Their weapons were simple kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives. They couldn't possibly damage his shields. "Ignore them," he ordered. "Focus on the bombardment targets. Those insects can't hurt us." Amy Rodriguez pushed her fighter to maximum speed. The alien ship was enormous, bigger than anything she had ever seen. Its dark hull seemed to absorb light. Strange energy patterns flickered across its surface. She could feel the power radiating from it even at this distance. "All units, arm your special packages," she commanded. "Dr. Carter's frequency weapons are our only chance. Remember, aim for the weapon arrays on the underside of the ship." The human fighters split into 3 groups and attacked from different angles. Their modified weapons fired beams of energy that had never been tested in real combat. The beams struck the alien ship's shields, and something unexpected happened. Instead of bouncing off harmlessly, the energy created ripples of disruption. Across the shield surface dot on the alien bridge, warning lights began flashing. The tactical officer's voice was filled with confusion. "Sir, the human weapons are affecting our shield matrix. The frequency is somehow interfering with our defensive systems." Vexstar stared at his screens in disbelief. These primitive creatures should not have weapons that could affect Galactic Council technology. Their intelligence reports had shown nothing like this. The humans used crude chemical explosives and metal projectiles. They had no understanding of advanced physics. "Impossible," Vexstar hissed. "Increase shield power and return fire. Destroy those insects immediately." The alien ship's weapons turned toward the human fighters. Beams of purple energy lanced through the sky. The first beam missed Amy Rodriguez by inches, leaving a trail of superheated air that shook her plane. The second beam struck Lieutenant Parker's fighter directly. Dan Parker felt his plane dying around him. The alien weapon had torn through his engine and damaged his flight controls. He was losing altitude fast, and his ejection system was not working. Instead of panic, he felt a strange calm wash over him. "Phoenix Leader, this is Phoenix 7, he said into his radio. "My bird is hurt bad. I'm not going to make it out of this one." Amy heard the resignation in his voice and knew what he was planning. "Dan, no. Try to make it to the ocean. We can pick you up." "Negative, Leader. I've got a better idea." Dan pushed his damaged fighter into a steep dive toward the alien ship. "Tell my wife I love her. And tell the aliens that humans don't give up easy." Dan's fighter struck the alien ship's main weapon array at full speed. The explosion was small compared to the massive vessel, but it hit exactly the right spot. The alien's primary bombardment cannon went dark, its targeting systems destroyed. Vexstar felt his ship shake from the impact. One of his main weapons was offline. A primitive human had deliberately crashed his craft into the cruiser, sacrificing his life to damage it. In all his years of conquest, Vexstar had never seen anything like it. "Sir, more human fighters are approaching," his officer reported, "and we're detecting missile launches from multiple locations on the planet's surface." Vexstar looked at his tactical display and saw something that made his blood run cold. Hundreds of missiles were rising from Earth. They came from every continent, launched simultaneously in a coordinated attack. The humans were not running in panic. They were fighting back with everything they had. Amy Rodriguez saw the missiles streaking up from below and felt a surge of pride. The unified defense network was working exactly as planned. Every nation on Earth was contributing to this attack. American missiles flew alongside Russian ones. Chinese warheads followed trajectories calculated by European computers. For the first time in human history, the entire species was truly united. The missiles struck the alien ships with tremendous force. Most of them exploded harmlessly against the shields, but a few carried the new frequency weapons. These special warheads created cascading failures in the alien defensive systems. Small sections of the shields flickered and failed in the underground. Command Center. Colonel Morrison watched the battle unfold on his screens. The attack was working better than he had hoped. The aliens were taking damage, and their return fire was less accurate than expected. Dr. Carter burst into the command room with new data. Jake, we're getting amazing readings from the battle. The alien technology is more vulnerable to frequency disruption than we thought. If we can get more of our modified weapons into the fight, we might actually have a chance. Morrison nodded. Grimly, send the activation codes to all hidden batteries. It's time to show these visitors what Earth really looks like when it's angry. Around the world, concealed weapon systems came online. In the mountains of Switzerland, disguised missile silos opened their doors. Under the ice of Greenland, energy. Cannons emerged from hidden bunkers. The aliens had expected to face a divided, primitive world. Instead, they found themselves fighting a unified planet that had been preparing for this war for years. Vextar's ship shuddered under another wave of attacks. His shields were failing in multiple sections. His weapons were being systematically targeted and destroyed. This was not how conquests were supposed to go. These humans were fighting like they had nothing to lose and everything to gain. Sir, the other cruisers are requesting permission to retreat and regroup, his communications officer reported. Vextar stared at the blue planet below. Somewhere down there, these impossible humans were celebrating their first victory against the Galactic Council. They had drawn first blood against the mighty Zephyrian Empire. The universe would never be the same. The alien bombardment began at dawn. Purple beams of energy rained down from the 3 cruisers in orbit, striking major cities around the world. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, all came under attack simultaneously. The alien weapons turned buildings to dust and melted steel like candles. From space, it looked like humanity was being wiped out in hours. Commander Vextar watched the destruction on his screens with satisfaction. The humans had surprised him with their initial resistance, but now he was showing them the true power of the Zephyrian Empire. Soon they would surrender and beg for mercy. Sir, we're detecting massive casualties in all target areas, his tactical officer reported. The human population centers are being eliminated as planned. But deep beneath the streets of New York City, Major Steve Collins crouched in a subway tunnel that hadn't seen trains in years. Around him, 40 soldiers from 12 different countries checked their weapons and equipment. The tunnel was part of a vast underground network that connected every major city on Earth. While the aliens destroyed the surface, humanity was very much alive below ground. Collins was a big man with scars on his hands and a calm voice that made people want to follow him. He had fought in wars on 3 continents before this moment. Now he faced an enemy unlike anything he had ever imagined. "Listen up, people," he said quietly. "The aliens think they're winning up there. They think they've broken us. But we've got news for them. Every major city on Earth has been evacuated through these tunnels over the past week. Most of those buildings they're destroying are empty." Sergeant Maria Santos adjusted the scope on her modified rifle. She was a small woman from Mexico who could hit a target at 2 miles. Her weapon now fired the special frequency rounds that Dr. Carter's team had developed. She had already tested it on pieces of alien wreckage and knew it worked. "How many of those monsters are down here with us?" she asked. Collins checked his tablet computer. The screen showed red dots moving through the tunnels above them. 50 alien soldiers in this sector. They think they're hunting survivors. Instead, they're walking into our trap. The alien ground forces had landed after the bombardment ended. They wore powered armor that made them 8 feet tall and nearly invulnerable to normal weapons. Their energy rifles could cut through concrete. Walls. They moved through the ruined cities like metal giants, searching for human survivors to capture or kill. But the aliens had never fought an enemy that could disappear into the ground. Every building, every street, every piece of infrastructure in the major cities had been modified over the past 15 years. Hidden passages led to underground networks. Fake walls concealed weapon caches. Even the sewers had been turned into highways for human forces. Lieutenant Tony Russo waited in the basement of what used to be the Empire State Building. His engineering team had spent 2 years preparing this location. The building above was now rubble, but the basement was intact and filled with surprises. Motion sensors told him that 6 alien soldiers were approaching through the ruins above. Russo pressed a button on his control panel. Throughout the basement, hidden speakers began broadcasting a specific sound frequency. It was barely audible to human ears, but Dr. Carter had discovered it interfered with alien equipment. The approaching aliens suddenly found their armor systems glitching and their communications cutting out. The first alien soldier dropped through a hole in the floor, directly into Russo's trap. Concealed weapons fired the new frequency rounds from 3 directions. The alien's armor sparked and failed, and the creature inside collapsed. Before its companions could react, more traps activated throughout the building. Above ground, Commander. Vexstar was receiving disturbing reports from his ground forces. "Sir, we're losing contact with patrol units across all landing zones. The humans appear to have some kind of underground resistance network." Vexstar studied the tactical displays with growing concern. His forces controlled the surface of every major city, but the humans were striking from below like deadly insects. His soldiers were disappearing one by one, their armor found empty and their weapons missing. In the tunnels beneath Chicago, Collins led his team through a carefully planned ambush. The alien patrol was following what looked like fleeing human civilians. The civilians were actually soldiers in disguise, leading the aliens into a kill zone that had been prepared months in advance. The tunnel opened into a large chamber that used to be a subway station. As the aliens entered, hidden doors slammed shut behind them. Emergency lights flickered on, revealing human soldiers positioned at every level of the chamber. Maria Santos lay prone on a platform above, her rifle aimed at the lead alien's helmet. "Welcome to Earth," Collins said over the chamber's speaker system. "Hope you enjoy your stay." The battle was over in seconds. The frequency weapons disrupted. The alien armor, while conventional explosives, brought down sections of the ceiling. When the dust cleared, 5 alien soldiers lay defeated and 1 was taken prisoner. It was the first alien capture in human history. Dr. Carter arrived at the fort underground facility within hours. The captured alien was unconscious but alive, its damaged armor removed to reveal a creature that looked like a cross between a lizard and an insect. She immediately began studying its equipment and biology. "This is incredible, Steve," she told Collins as she examined the alien weapons. "Their technology is advanced, but it's not magic. We can understand it, and more importantly, we can copy it." Around the world, similar scenes were playing out in every major city. Human resistance fighters struck from hidden positions, captured alien equipment, and disappeared back into their underground networks. The aliens controlled the surface, but humanity owned everything below ground. In London, Captain Peter Wright led a team through abandoned underground stations. In Tokyo, Major Lin Zhao used modified subway cars as mobile weapons platforms. In Moscow, Colonel Boris Petrov turned the city's extensive metro system into a fortress that stretched for hundreds of miles. The aliens had expected to face a primitive enemy that would break after the first show of force. Instead, they found themselves fighting a species that had turned their own cities into weapons. Every street was a potential ambush site. Every building could hide dozens of fighters. The urban landscape itself seemed to be fighting against them. Vexstar realized that his quick conquest was turning into a prolonged siege. His forces controlled territory, but couldn't hold it. The humans appeared whenever his soldiers were isolated, struck hard, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. It was like fighting ghosts that could materialize anywhere at any time. "Sir, we need more troops," his ground commander reported. "The humans are using tactics we've never encountered. They're not trying to hold territory or protect positions. They're just trying to kill as many of us as possible." Vexstar looked at his casualty reports and felt something he had never experienced in decades of conquest. For the first time in his career, he was beginning to doubt that victory was certain. President Patricia Hayes stood in the reinforced bunker that had become Earth's war room. The walls were lined with screens showing battle reports from around the world. Military leaders from every major nation sat around a large table, their faces grim but determined. They had been fighting the aliens for 6 days, and somehow they were still alive. Hayes was a tall woman with silver hair and eyes that had seen too much in the past week. She had been president for only 2 years, but this crisis had aged her decades. Now she faced the most important decision in human history. "General Morrison, what's our current status?" she asked. Morrison stood at the main display screen. Red dots showed alien positions around the globe. Blue dots marked human resistance cells. The map looked like a medical chart showing some terrible infection, but the blue dots were spreading. "Madam President, we've captured 43 alien soldiers and recovered hundreds of pieces of their equipment," Morrison reported. "Dr. Carter's teams have made remarkable progress in understanding their technology. More importantly, we're learning how to use it." In a secret laboratory beneath the Swiss Alps, Dr. Carter worked alongside scientists from 20 different countries. The captured alien equipment lay spread across dozens of work tables. Teams of engineers were carefully taking apart energy weapons, armor systems, and communication devices. "The key is their power source," Carter explained to her international team. "They use a form of controlled quantum reaction that we're just beginning to understand. But the beautiful thing is, once we know how it works, we can make it better." Dr. Alex Kumar, a physicist from India, held up a small device that glowed with blue light. "We've successfully reverse-engineered their energy cell design. But look at this modification we made." He activated the device, and the glow changed to brilliant white. "By adding our frequency disruption technology, we've created a power source that's 30% more efficient than the original." Carter smiled for the first time in days. "How many units can we produce?" "Working around the clock with all our facilities. Maybe 200 modified weapons by tomorrow," Kumar replied. "But that's not the best part. We've also figured out how to modify their armor systems to work with human physiology." Back in the bunker, President Hayes received a communication request on the quantum frequency the aliens used. The message was coming directly from Commander Vexstar's ship. She looked around the table at her advisors, then nodded to the communications officer. The alien commander's image appeared on the main screen. His purple skin looked darker than before, and his 4 eyes showed something Hayes had not expected to see: exhaustion. "Human leader," Vexstar began, his voice translated by captured alien equipment. "I am Commander Vexstar of the Zephyrian Empire. You have fought bravely, but you cannot win this war. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Continue to resist, and we will turn your entire planet into ash. Hayes stood slowly, her hands flat on the table. Every person in the room watched. Her, knowing that her next words would determine the future of their species. "Commander Vexstar," she replied calmly. "I'm President Hayes of the United Earth Defense Force. We appreciate your offer, but we have a counterproposal for you." Vexstar's eyes narrowed. In his centuries of conquest, no primitive species had ever offered him terms. You are insects compared to the might of the Zephyrian Empire. What could you possibly offer us? Hayes gestured to Morrison, who activated a display showing the alien casualty reports that human intelligence had intercepted. In 6 days of fighting, you've lost over 800 soldiers and most of your ground equipment. Your ships are damaged and your supplies are running low. Now imagine fighting us when we're not holding back. The alien commander stared at the data on his screen. The human intelligence networks had somehow accessed his private military reports. They knew exactly how much damage they had inflicted on his forces. Impossible, Vexstar hissed. Your primitive technology cannot access our secure communications. Hayes smiled coldly. Commander, we've learned a lot in the past week. Dr. Carter, please show our visitor what we've been working on. The screen split to show Carter's laboratory. The scientist held up an alien energy rifle, but something was different about it. The weapon's design had been modified, and it glowed with the white light of the improved power cells. This is one of your soldiers' weapons, Carter explained. But we've made some improvements. The power output is 40% higher than the original, and we've added our frequency disruption technology. We can now produce weapons that are superior to your own. Carter handed the weapon to Captain Amy Rodriguez, who had survived the first air battle and was now part of the technology integration team. Rodriguez aimed the modified rifle at a target made of alien armor plating. The beam that fired was brighter and more focused than anything the aliens had ever seen. It cut through the armor like paper. Vexstar felt something he had never experienced in his long military career: fear. These primitive humans had not only learned to use his technology, they had improved it. In less than a week, they had accomplished what most species took decades to achieve. You see, Commander, Hayes continued, we're fast learners. Every piece of equipment you lose makes us stronger. Every soldier you send down here gives us more technology to study. You're not just fighting humans anymore. You're fighting humans with alien technology, and we're getting better at using it every day. Morrison activated another display showing real-time footage from around the world. Human soldiers were now wearing modified alien armor and carrying energy weapons. They moved through the underground tunnels like ghosts, striking at alien positions. With devastating effectiveness. In New York, Major Collins led a squad armed with the new hybrid weapons. His soldiers wore armor that combined human design with alien technology. They moved faster, hit harder, and disappeared more quickly than ever before. In Tokyo, Captain Rodriguez flew a captured alien fighter that had been modified with human technology. The ship performed maneuvers that the original alien pilots had never imagined, combining human creativity with alien engineering. Your invasion has failed, Commander, Hayes said quietly. You came here expecting to conquer a primitive world. Instead, you've created something new. You've created humans with your own technology, and we're using it better than you ever did. Vexstar looked at his tactical displays with growing horror. His ground forces were being systematically destroyed by enemies using superior versions of his own weapons. His air support was being outfought by humans flying his own ships. The invasion was becoming a disaster. This is your last chance to withdraw peacefully, Hayes offered. Leave our solar system now, and we'll consider this a misunderstanding. Stay here, and we'll show you what happens when humans really get angry. Vexstar cut the communication without responding. He had decisions to make, and for the first time in his career, none of them led to victory. The humans had done something impossible. They had turned his own strength against him. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called for the first time in 300 years. In the great chamber that floated in the void between stars, representatives from 47 different species gathered to discuss the impossible. News from Earth. The chamber's crystal walls showed images of the battle that had shocked the entire galaxy. Counselor Mordeth of the Altarian Republic stood at the center of the circular room. His tall gray form moved gracefully as he addressed the assembly. Around him, beings of every shape and size watched in stunned silence as the reports continued to arrive from the human system. Fellow counselors, Mordeth began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's translation systems. We have received confirmation that the Zephyrian invasion of the primitive world designated Earth has not only failed, but has resulted in the most significant military defeat in our recorded history. A wave of shocked whispers ran through the assembly. The Zephyrian Empire had been the Council's primary military force for over 1,000 years. Their conquest protocols had never failed against a pre-spaceflight civilization not representative. Kylara of the Manthari Collective rose from her seat. Her insect-like form clicked as she moved. Counselor Mordeth, surely you cannot mean that a species using chemical propulsion and kinetic weapons has defeated energy-based technology. The reports must be mistaken. Mordeth activated the chambers. Main display. Three-dimensional images showed the battle around Earth in real time. Human fighters moved through space using captured alien technology, but their flight patterns were unlike anything the Council had ever seen. The pilots performed maneuvers that seemed to defy both physics and common sense. The humans have done more than resist, Mordeth explained. They have captured our technology and improved it. In 8 days of combat, they have made technological advances that typically take our civilizations decades to achieve. On Earth, Commander Vexstar stood on the bridge of his damaged flagship. His proud fleet of 3 cruisers was now reduced to 2 barely functioning ships. His ground forces had been either captured or destroyed. Most shocking of all, his supply ships had been attacked and destroyed by humans flying his own fighters. Captain Amy Rodriguez led the final assault on the alien supply convoy. Her modified fighter squadron included pilots from 12 different countries, all flying captured alien ships that had been improved with human technology. The alien vessels were faster and more maneuverable than anything Earth had ever produced. But in human hands, they became something entirely new. Phoenix leader to all units, Rodriguez transmitted. Target the command ship first. Remember, we want to disable it, not destroy it. Every ship we capture makes us stronger. The battle was over in minutes. The alien supply ships were not designed for combat, and their crews were unprepared for the aggressive tactics the humans employed. Rodriguez's squadron captured 3 intact vessels and enough supplies to keep the human resistance fighting for months. Back in the council chamber, more representatives were arriving. Ships from across the galaxy brought delegates who had traveled for days to witness this unprecedented event. And news of human resistance had spread faster than any military intelligence in galactic history. Elder Vorthik of the ancient Virion. Clans spoke for the first time in centuries. His voice was old and filled with wisdom. I have seen the rise and fall of 40 civilizations. Never have I witnessed a species that turned the tools of conquest into instruments of liberation. So, quickly, these humans are something new in the galaxy. Deep in Earth's underground command center, President Hayes received a message that changed everything. The transmission came on frequencies that Dr. Carter's team had only recently learned to decode. It was not from the Zephyrian Empire, or even from Commander Vexstar. It came from the Galactic Council itself. People of Earth, the translated message began. This is Counselor Mordith of the Altarian Republic, speaking for the Galactic Council. Your resistance to the Zephyrian invasion has been observed by civilizations across the galaxy. We offer you formal recognition as a sovereign species and invitation to join the galactic community as equals. Hayes looked around the command room at the faces of her advisors. General Morrison stood quietly beside her, his expression unreadable. Dr. Carter held a tablet showing the technical analysis of the alien message. Every person in the room understood that this moment would define humanity's future. Counselor Mordith, Hayes replied carefully, we appreciate your offer. But we have some questions about the organization that sent the Zephyrian Empire to conquer us in the first place. The response came quickly. President Hayes, the invasion of Earth was undertaken by the Zephyrian Empire, acting independently. The Council did not authorize or support this action. We are as shocked by their defeat as they are. Hayes exchanged glances with Morrison. They both knew this was probably not entirely true, but it offered a path forward that didn't involve continuing the war against the entire galaxy. On his damaged ship, Vexstar received the recall order from the Galactic Council with a mixture of relief and humiliation. The message was clear. The invasion of Earth was to be terminated immediately, and all Zephyrian forces were to withdraw beyond the outer solar system. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're also receiving messages from other species. The Manthari Collective, the Thelian Union, even the isolationist Virian clans are sending ships to Earth. They want to establish diplomatic contact with the humans. Vexstar looked at the tactical display showing his battered fleet. Around the Chi, edges of the solar system, ships from dozens of different civilizations were arriving. Word of humanity's successful resistance had spread across the galaxy faster than he thought possible. Prepare for withdrawal, he ordered quietly. Signal all remaining ground forces to return to the ships. The invasion is over. President Hayes stood before the cameras in the underground bunker, preparing to address not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The transmission would be broadcast on every frequency humans had learned to use, reaching civilizations across the stars. To the beings of the galaxy, she began, we are humanity, the people of Earth. We did not ask for this war, but we fought it with everything we had. We have proven that we belong among the stars, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals. We offer friendship to those who come in peace, and we promise swift justice to those who do not. The message was received by billions of beings across thousands of worlds. For the first time in galactic history, a pre-spaceflight civilization had not only survived first contact with an advanced species, but had earned their respect through combat. General Morrison watched the alien ships withdraw from Earth orbit. On the command center's main screen, the war was over, but he knew that humanity's greatest challenges were just beginning. They had earned their place in the galaxy, but now they had to learn how to live in it. Dr. Carter approached with her. Final report. Jake, we've learned more about physics and engineering in the past week than in the previous century. We're not the same species we were when this started. We're something new now. Morrison nodded slowly. The question is, what do we do with what we've become? Hayes joined them at the display screen. We do what humans have always done. We learn, we grow, and we survive. But now we do it among the stars. The invasion of Earth was over, but humanity's journey to the stars had just begun. The galaxy would never be the same.